Does it take forever for your curls to dry? You should not be spending 30+ minutes diffusing your curls. I'm going to show you exactly how I dry my hair in just under 12 minutes in this video. My name is Gina and welcome back to my channel. Here we talk all things naturally curly hair. I love simplifying things and really helping you problem solve, which is what we're going to do here today when it comes to reducing your dry time. And a huge part of why I'm able to diffuse so quickly is because of this massive diffuser. This is the Diffusion from Curlsmith, who is kindly partnering with me for this video in honor of their huge Black Friday sale that they have going on where you can save money on the Diffusion hair dryer. This rarely goes on sale, so I had to share this deal with you all. Definitely snag it while you can get it on sale. It's only going on through tomorrow, so you have through December 1st to shop the sale. So I will have the sale details down below. They also have the majority of their products on sale, including select products up to 50% off. So now's your time to definitely stock up with the products that you need and then also grab the diffuser while it's actually on sale. And no worries if you don't have this hair dryer or if you don't have these same products, you can still apply the tips that I'm going to share with you regardless of the products that you have. So let's get started. I've already washed my hair using the Curlsmith Detox Kit. Two of the products in the kit are actually currently 50% off, so I did want to briefly share them with you. The Detox Kit is basically a 3-step system. It includes the Super Slip Pre-Wash Primer. This is included in the sale, so you put this on all over to help detangle and protect your hair. And then you go in with the Wash and Scrub Detox Shampoo. You can use any clarifying shampoo that you have, but this is part of the Detox Kit. This has a microfine scrub in it, so it's great for any type of scalp conditions and exfoliating the scalp and clarifying the lengths of the hair. And then the Post-Wash Calming Conditioner. This is what I used at the end. This one is on sale for 50% off as well. And so you can get the primer and the conditioner that you can use with any clarifying shampoo that you have, but I do love the 3-step system together. How long our hair takes to dry has everything to do with what we do during our wash day process. The first step is to try damp styling instead of soaking wet styling. Everyone usually preaches about soaking wet styling in the curly hair world because it does help give your hair curl clumps and definition and help tame frizz when you do use more water in your hair when you're styling. But damp styling can actually help your hair dry faster, but it doesn't have to be so dry that your hair is stringy and frizzy. So I will show you what I mean. My hair is currently wrapped in the Curlsmith microfiber towel. I do really like this one because it's pretty lightweight. It's not too heavy on the head. And this is not like your traditional microfiber. This is actually a flat weave, so it doesn't have any of those fibers. So I do really like this. So I first wrap my hair in my hair towel after I finish rinsing out my conditioner so I can get out of the shower, and then that also helps to towel dry my roots. So by wrapping my hair in my hair towel, that allows my roots to start to dry a little bit. It kind of blots them dry, so that way my roots are not dripping soaking wet because we don't need our scalp to be soaked. And then I can mist water on the lengths of my hair. So this allows me to kind of customize the amount of water in my hair versus leaving it soaking wet. So I'm just using the Curlsmith spray bottle here. It's nice to have a spray bottle on hand, but you can also just wet your hands under the tap. Then I just like to kind of run my fingers through to make sure that that water is evenly distributed. We want our hair to be evenly wet, not having like patchy areas of frizz where it's starting to dry. Like for me, that's always on the ends. So just make sure that it's evenly wet, and you might have to mist your hair in sections as you're styling because it probably will start to dry. So it can be tough to show you on camera the amount of water that's in my hair, but it's not soaking my shirt and dripping all over the floor. That's more soaking wet styling. So when would somebody want to style more on the soaking wet side? So if you have wavy hair or a looser curl pattern, you might find that you get better results with having more water in your hair, so more of that soaking wet styling. But you can still reduce your dry time with the tip that I'm gonna share at step number 5, so make sure you stay tuned for that if you do wanna style soaking wet but still speed up your dry time. The next step is to mist our hair with a heat protectant. I'm using the Curlsmith Miracle Shield. This not only will protect your hair from heat when diffusing, but it will also protect from the sun's UV rays, chlorine, pool water, any of that. It's a great summer product, but I still use it year round, especially to protect from heat when I'm diffusing. Step number 3 is to use minimal styling products such as just a gel or a mousse to style your curls. I'm going in with the Curlsmith Shape Up Aqua Gel, which is a very lightweight gel that does have moisturizing ingredients. It's also rich in proteins, and this gel is going to provide moisture hold, frizz control, and it's definitely a buildable hold. This gel is labeled as a lightweight gel, but I definitely find it to be pretty buildable to where if you use more of it and you kind of do the layering technique that I'm going to share with you, you can get more of a medium hold out of it. And it's pretty long lasting too and easy to refresh. So I'm pretty heavy handed with it. I go in with about maybe a nickel size amount per section, and I just go off of the feeling in my hair. So if I can't really like feel the product in my hair anymore as I'm raking it through, that's when I'll go in with a little bit more until it feels like slippery all throughout. I recommend skipping leave-in conditioner and curl cream and just using a gel that is moisturizing or a mousse. The more creamy products that are on your hair underneath of your gel or mousse, the less hold that you're going to get and the longer it's going to take your hair to dry, because those creamy products like curl creams, leave-ins, even conditioner, they really do trap in moisture, which is what they're meant to do. But the more moisture in our hair, the longer it's going to take to dry. Now, this doesn't mean that you have no moisture and you're using just a drying gel on your hair. That's not it at all. That's why I recommend gels like the Curlsmith Shape Up Aqua Gel and the other Curlsmith gels that are very moisturizing. All of the Curlsmith gels are moisturizing for the hair. They have conditioning ingredients in them in addition to those holding ingredients to actually help our curls last longer. So if you have super fine hair, if you struggle with your hair not lasting, being overly silky or soft, then definitely try skipping curl cream and gel and just try it and see how your hair does with just gel or mousse. If you find that your hair is just very dry, or if you're more on the coarse side and you can't get away with just using a gel or mousse, then the next way to add in a little bit of moisture would be to use a lightweight leave-in conditioner underneath of your gel. So you would go in with a lightweight leave-in first, then your Miracle Shield, because that actually goes on after leave-ins but before stylers. Then you would go to your gel or your mousse or your main holding product after. So lightweight leave-ins are going to be more lightweight than something like a curl cream. The next step is to avoid over clumping the hair when styling. We love creating nice curl clumps, but it can definitely make your hair take longer to dry. So the more clumped that your hair is and the larger those curl clumps, then the longer your hair is going to take to dry, versus smaller curl clumps are going to dry faster. And that's just because curl clumps kind of trap in that moisture. So if you have ever scrunched out your cast, like at the end of your routine, and your hair still felt damp, like you felt the dampness after you scrunched out the cast, then that is a sign that perhaps you're creating too thick curl clumps. There's other causes as well, like we've already talked about, using too much water, etc. But that definitely can be part of it. You're just making too thick of curl clumps. It's definitely something to kind of tweak, because you don't want them too small to where then your hair ends up stringy, but you also don't want them too thick. So reducing the amount of hair in your brush that you pick up at a time can help reduce the size of your curl clump. So if I were to style this entire section at once and leave it clumped, this would be way too thick for my curl pattern. Now, I usually go through and then separate this, but if I were to leave this like that, then that's too thick, and not only doesn't look right and it's going to reduce my volume, but that would take forever to dry, especially in this section of my hair. I'm also using a brush that doesn't give too much tension, so it's safe to use. It's not going to like cause you breakage or anything as long as you don't have super fragile hair. But you can also kind of customize the amount of tension with this, because it's not too much tension like a very dense bristle brush. It's somewhere in between where you can apply more tension and more pressure with your hand if you do want thicker curl clumps, and then less pressure, less tension is going to create less curl clumps. So that's just one thing to play with. Or you can create big curl clumps if you're in a hurry. Sometimes I will just do an entire section at once, and then I will just go through and separate the curl clumps after. That's also why I'm finger coiling right now, because I can't group all of these hairs in the same direction, because there's lots of little curl clumps that actually go all different ways. I find it creates less frizz and is easier if you separate the curl clumps while your hair is still wet versus letting them dry and then going back through and separating them. You'll definitely get frizz. Once you're done styling, this is probably the most important step to really speed up your dry time, especially if you've styled with quite a bit of water in your hair, like more on the soaking wet side. Do not skip this step. So take your hair towel or t-shirt, whichever you're using, and kind of lean to the side so that way the hair at the root lifts away from the scalp. Or you can take your other hand and kind of pinch right at the root, and then just scrunch your hair with your hair towel gently all the way to the root. I would avoid doing a bunch of pulsing, so that's where you kind of go like this. That can definitely create some frizz. Just be very gentle with it. You can skip this step if your hair is much more damp, like if you don't have a lot of excess water in your hair, or if your hair has really started to dry, you can skip this. But this is going to really absorb that excess moisture in your hair to majorly reduce your dry time. Sometimes I will skip my areas where I get a lot of frizz, which is right here, but it tends to stay pretty wet up at the root where the hair is healthier, so I do try and scrunch right there. I also make sure to scrunch underneath, so I will kind of lean to the side and go like this, because that definitely will stay damp. The healthier areas and the lower porosity areas are going to take longer to dry, so we definitely need to absorb that excess water there. The next part of this step is critical, and that is to add an extra light layer of gel or mousse, or sometimes even a hairspray, to your hair to tame any frizz and add a lot of extra hold. So the hair towel is going to absorb some product. It's just naturally going to soak up some product, so we do need to add more back in. And you might be wondering, like, why would you then scrunch with your towel? And it's so that you can get the best of both worlds. You can speed up your dry time and increase your hold, because when you're adding gel onto hair that's starting to dry, it's going to really increase the hold, because as we talked about before, the more water in your hair when you're adding your gel, the more diluted it is and the less hold that you get. So you're not only going to get more hold, but it's going to speed up your dry time. I know going back and forth sometimes doesn't make sense. Like, why did you just take away product and then add more? But that is why. So that way I can speed up the dry time and get extra hold, and that layering technique really makes a difference. So you can either do this with the same gel that you were just using, especially if you're using a light or a medium hold gel. This is really going to help increase the hold level, because if I were to just diffuse my hair right now, I would definitely have frizz. So I don't know if you can see, but I did get some frizz after scrunching, and that's because I'm using a lighter hold product and it did soak up some product. Or you can go in with another light layer of a different gel, like a stronger hold gel. This is a great technique for those of you who might want a little bit more texture and grit to your hair, but you don't necessarily want to use that all over. So I am actually going to do that technique just to show you. This is the Curlsmith fragrance-free shine gel. You don't have to have a whole nother gel, but it can help if you want to kind of tweak and customize your results, or just go in with the same gel you just used. I definitely do that all the time. So I just used a little bit of this, and I added some water because it's one of those very thick gels. Thicker gels are going to give you more texture, and that texturized feeling can really help people who struggle with their hair being overly soft and falling easily. But if you have coarser textured hair like mine in some areas, these types of gels can make it feel just a little bit stiff and sticky. So that's why I don't always use them all over. I mean, I do sometimes, but I like using it sort of as a topper. That's kind of what I like to call it when you're doing this method, where you're just kind of glazing it in on the surface, kind of like roping it in like that and scrunching. Stay tuned to hear how I'm able to dry my hair in just about 10 to 15 minutes, but I first wanted to show you how damp my hair is right now before I start diffusing, because this is important. So I recommend going straight to diffusing after you finish styling your hair, if you want to use your diffuser to kind of enhance your curl pattern, like shrink it up more, create more volume. Because if you wait too long in between, like if you air dry some first, or if you go off and do something and your hair starts to dry, you won't be able to manipulate it as much, because once our hair dries, especially in a gel cast, it kind of freezes in that position. So if you then go in and diffuse after it's starting to air dry, you're going to get more frizz and you won't be able to really shrink it up. We're finally to the diffusing step, and I recommend using a diffuser with a large diffuser attachment that has holes in the prongs. I'm using the Curlsmith Diffusion hairdryer with the XXL diffuser attachment, which is currently included in the sale. This rarely goes on sale, so you definitely want to jump on that before it ends. While you can definitely still implement all of these tips to reduce dry time and use whichever hair dryer that you already have, there are some things to note that I think make the biggest difference in dry time when it comes to the design of the diffuser and the diffuser attachment. One is the large size of this diffuser head. So this is 8 inches in diameter, so it covers a lot of surface area all at once. And the hair dryer is designed for naturally curly hair, so it doesn't get too hot like most hair dryers. it's able to still dry my hair fast using lower heat because of the size. It also has ionizing diffusion technology in it to reduce frizz. I use the highest heat setting and the lowest fan speed, and I sometimes switch to medium heat towards the end. But don't worry, because it's not too hot for curls and it's not going to cause damage. Another thing that you want to look for is a diffuser head with longer prongs that extend out past the end of the diffuser bowl and that have holes in the end of them. So that way the air can actually reach the root. And I love using the long prongs of the diffusion to lift the roots up off of my scalp and hold it for more volume. As you can see, I'm able to gather the majority of my hair all in the diffuser head at once. That way I can dry my hair a lot faster. This also helps prevent a bunch of wonky curls and just helps shrink everything up to an even length. I also like flipping my head side to side to just help get more root volume and more movement at the root. There's also a kickstand on the back of the hairdryer, so you don't even have to hold the hairdryer if you're unable to or if your arm gets tired. Just prop it up on your counter or on some flat surface and then place your hair in the diffuser head, and it will dry your hair without even having to hold it. My hair was basically dry around the 10-minute mark, but I diffused until about 11 minutes and 30 seconds, which is pretty good for my hair getting basically all the way dry. So it's probably like 98% dry. I don't feel any dampness at my roots, but sometimes there is some moisture that is still in there. So what I like to do is stop diffusing when I feel like it's fully dry, let the hair kind of cool off for a second, then you can feel if it's still damp in any areas. At that point, you can go ahead and just air dry if you don't want to completely finish diffusing. And if you're really short on time, I recommend diffusing for at least 5 minutes or so until you like the length and the shape of your hair. Then you could finish air drying if you're really pressed for time. But I do like to diffuse majority of the way so that way I can make sure my hair is done and I like how it looks. So for right around at 10 or 11.5 minutes, that's a pretty good dry time. But I did want to cover some factors that impact your dry time because it's going to be different for everyone. So the thicker that your hair's density is, so the more hair on your head, the longer it's going to take to dry, whereas thin hair dries a lot faster. The longer your hair is, the longer it's going to take to dry. A short hair dries pretty quickly. If your hair is very healthy, if it's low porosity, it's going to take longer to dry because that hair type tends to hold on to moisture longer. And if you are using heavier products, as we discussed, that's going to impact your dry time. So if you did use a curl cream, it's probably going to take a little bit longer to dry. Whereas if you styled with like just a mousse, that's going to be the fastest way to dry your hair. The last and final step is technically optional, but I know a lot of you are going to want a softer look, and that is to scrunch out the gel cast. Now, if you're going to bed, if you're styling at night, or if you want your curls to really last a long time, skip this step. It will gradually release throughout the night or throughout the day. But if you want a softer look, you are going to have to scrunch it out. So if you scrunch your hair out too soon when it's still pretty wet, you might get some frizz. So make sure that your hair is pretty much all the way dry. But one tip that I had for you is to go ahead and scrunch out your cast if you feel like it's pretty much all the way dry. And then you can kind of feel areas that might still be a little bit damp and then finish diffusing. So sometimes the gel cast will like trap moisture in our hair, especially if you have big curl clumps. So breaking the cast, I find, just helps to fully release that moisture. So sometimes you will see me go back in with my diffuser after I scrunch out the cast, and that really helps to amp up the volume as well. Now I am just using my bare dry hands to do this. You can add a little bit of oil on your hands. I would recommend the Curlsmith bonding oil or their fragrance-free shine oil. I really like that one because it's very lightweight, so is bonding oil. But I wanted to keep this simple with minimal products today. One of the biggest advantages of diffusing over air drying is you're able to scrunch out the cast and have your hair be done right away. Whereas with air drying, you have to walk around with crunchy curls that are wet all day waiting for them to dry. Then you go and scrunch it out, and then you might be surprised with how your hair looks if you end up with some frizz, and you might not be able to touch up if you're already out and about. So with diffusing, you're able to see how your hair looks after scrunching out the cast and then assess it, see if you need a little bit more gel in some areas. Like if I spot any frizz, I will usually go ahead and add just a little bit of gel onto dry hair to kind of tame it. But this actually looks really good. I don't see any need for touch up. I don't mind a little bit of frizz. We don't need our curls to be perfect by any means, but it does allow you to kind of see how your hair looks, make sure you're happy with it. And again, you just have more control over the result with diffusing, and your hair is done right away versus it being done like 5 hours from now when it finally dries. If you have been diffusing for 30 to 40 minutes plus and your hair is still not dry and it's still very damp, then you might need to assess what you're doing in those steps that we already talked about, or get a better hair dryer that's a little bit higher quality to dry your hair faster, such as the Diffusion if you're not already using that one. And if you are already using the Diffusion and implementing all of these tips and your hair still is taking like an hour plus to dry, then I might be able to help you pinpoint what is actually causing that in a coaching session. I will have a link down below if you do want to check that out, but I help you kind of pinpoint exactly what you're doing in your routine by going through all of the steps with you. So let me know, DM me on Instagram, the word coaching, if you do want to chat about if it's right for you, or I will have the link down below if you want to check it out. But I've definitely helped some people with this issue and uncovered some things that might be causing their really long dry time if you've already tried all these tips. It's now day 2 without any refreshing, and so I wanted to show you how my hair looks after using these products and this routine. So as you can see, my curls still look pretty good. I just have a little bit of normal frizz, mainly around my grays. This is why I'm outside, so that way you can actually see. And then I usually get a little bit of halo frizz, which is totally normal. Now this is a result of using the Shine Gel. If I were to just use the Shape Up Aqua Gel, I probably wouldn't have a cast on day 2 because it is a softer hold, but the curls would still look pretty good and it's not too frizzy. It just doesn't usually still have a cast there, whereas the Shine Gel is pretty strong hold. The reason I wanted to show you my day 2 results is because the products and the diffusing really make the biggest difference. If I don't diffuse and I just air dry, my hair does not last by the end of the day and it falls. It gets very stringy and kind of puffs up, whereas diffusing helps to set the curl shape so that way it lasts longer and into day 2. And I even will diffuse a lot of times on refresh days because that helps to just make everything even, so that way there's not like pieces hanging down longer after adding water. It really helps just to get the curls to last longer with that diffusing step on both wash day and refresh days. Don't forget to check out the sale from Curlsmith while it's still going on through December 1st. I will have the link in the description box down below as well as in the pinned comment. Definitely take advantage of that Diffusion being on sale because it rarely goes on sale. I typically only see it on sale on Curlsmith's website on their Black Friday promotion once a year. If you need help choosing products while they're on sale, just leave me a comment down below or send me a DM over on Instagram and I can definitely help you out. And if you want even more diffusing help, specifically techniques to help get you more curl definition, more shrinkage, and more volume, specifically root volume, check out the video that I will have linked right here on the screen. It's also using the Curlsmith Diffusion, and I show you lots of different tips and tricks and techniques for really enhancing curl definition and volume. So I will talk to you over there. Bye everyone.